Hello, dear listeners, and welcome to a new episode of our Letter to Voxes podcast.
Today, we're jumping into a text that is, well, it's deceptively simple on the surface, but my goodness, it is philosophically massive. We're doing a deep dive into Ernest Hemingway's novella, The Old Man and the Sea.
Right. And this is so much more than just a story about an old fisherman trying to catch a big fish. It's a modern myth about perseverance, about dignity.
Exactly. And that's our mission for today. We want to pull out the core wisdom from Santiago's, epic physical struggle against nature.
And then connect those themes back to the writer himself, to Hemingway's really extraordinary life and his unique artistic philosophy.
We're definitely going to be talking about his famous stripped-down style, the iceberg theory, which kind of forces you as the reader to grapple with these immense concepts, things like honor, dignity, and, well, inevitable loss.
All hidden just beneath the surface of really simple, crystal clear prose.
Yeah. Get ready to understand why a man can be destroyed, but crucially not defeated.
So to really get Santiago, I think we have to start with Hemingway himself. You can't separate the character from the creator here.
Not at all. His biography is completely woven into his art. So he was born July 21st, 1899 in Oak Park, Illinois. And from the very beginning, he was someone who didn't just want to observe life. He wanted to live it at, full throttle.
Which he did, right up until his death, tragically, on July 7th, 1961.
And that connection between his life and his art, it started really early. Before he was this famous novelist, he was a journalist, a hard-nosed reporter for places like the Kansas City Star.
And the Toronto Star. And that experience, you can see how it shaped his writing, can't you?
Oh, absolutely. It was foundational. It trained him to write with this severe economy of language. You just focus on the facts, on the action, on what people say. No fluff.
And then his life just throws this baptism by fire at him. We have to talk about World War I. He volunteers in 1918. He's a Red Cross ambulance driver on the Italian front.
Right near the Piave River, so he is in the thick of it. And he's just 18 years old when he gets severely wounded by mortar fire.
18! It's almost unimaginable.
And that one event, that combination of, mortal danger and just profound suffering, it gave him a perspective that would define everything he wrote after.
And while he's recovering, he falls in love with a nurse, Agnes von Karowski. That relationship, it doesn't work out. She rejects him.
And that heartbreak becomes the emotional blueprint for so many of his themes. Loyalty, vulnerability, loss. It's all right there. It directly inspires one of his greatest novels, A Farewell to Arms.
So you have this template for the classic Hemingway hero right there.
Yeah.
A man who's defined by how he handles himself under extreme pressure, both physical and emotional.
Exactly. Grace under pressure.
Yeah.
After the war, he moves to Paris. This is between 1921 and 1927. And Paris at that time, it was the crucible for modernist literature.
And he falls in with all these iconic figures. He becomes part of what Gertrude Stein famously called the lost generation.
Artists who were just completely disillusioned by the horrors of the Great War. They were searching for a new way to write about reality.
And this is where he really forges the technical genius of his style, right? With people like Stein and Ezra Pound. They taught him what he called the art of omission.
Which brings us directly to the bedrock of his entire technique, the iceberg theory.
Okay, let's break that down for our listeners. What exactly is the iceberg theory?
Well, Hemingway believed that the real power of a story, the true meaning, isn't in what's written on the page. It's in everything that's left unsaid. It's hidden beneath the text, just like 7/8 of an iceberg is submerged under the water.
So if you're the writer and you're only describing the visible things, the actions, the dialogue, the surface facts, how does the reader get to that deeper emotional weight?
It's kind of transaction, because the writer strips away all the sentimentality, all the commentary. You, the reader, are forced to engage really deeply with the details that are there.
Can you give us an example?
Sure. So Hemingway might just describe Santiago setting his fishing lines with meticulous care. The fact on the page is the depth he sets them at and the bait he uses.
Okay.
The 7/8 beneath the surface is everything that implies. It's his discipline, his respect for his craft. It's the deep, silent hope that's driving him to be so precise.
So in The Old Man and the Sea, the physical struggle with the fish is just the tip of the iceberg.
Precisely. The real story, the struggle for dignity, the meditation on the nobility of his foe, the internal battle against despair, all of that is the submerged part that makes this short novella feel so massive.
And his own life really fed into this, didn't it? His passions.
Oh, completely. Deep sea fishing, big game hunting, bullfighting. These weren't just hobbies. They were laboratories for him, a way to test human skill against these primal realities.
He wasn't just writing about abstract ideas. He was writing about what it felt like to actually hold a line taut against a monster from the deep, or to face a charging bull.
Yeah. And his connection to the water, it really solidifies when he buys his fishing boat, the Pilar, in 1934. He ends up living for over 20 years in Cuba, at his home, the Finca La Vigia.
And that environment, that's the direct source for Santiago's story, the setting, the spirit of it all.
And when the book comes out in 1952, it just resonates with people immediately. It's this concise, powerful encapsulation of everything he'd been exploring his whole career.
It wins him the Pulitzer Prize in 1953.
And then, a year later, the Nobel Prize in Literature. It just cements his status as a global literary giant.
It was this huge, late career triumph defined by this incredible stoicism. But there's such a heavy counterpoint to that story, which is how his life ended.
Yeah. The man who wrote the ultimate ode to resilience, he succumbed to his own immense personal struggles in the late 1950s.
He was battling severe alcoholism, profound depression.
The treatments he underwent, including multiple rounds of electroconvulsive therapy at the Mayo Clinic, were just devastating. He reportedly said that the treatment had ruined his mind, that it took away his memory.
Which, for a writer, is everything. Your entire capital.
It's a profound, terrible irony. The author, obsessed with dignity and defeat, ended his own life in this state of profound turmoil, mirroring the suicides of his father and, later, two of his siblings.
It's something we have to keep in the back of our minds. As we get into Santiago's absolute refusal to surrender, we have to remember the author who, in the end, couldn't sustain that same fight.
So let's turn to our protagonist, Santiago. We meet him, and he's defined by this one single, immediate conflict.
Right. He's an old man, he fishes alone in the Gulf Stream, and he's gone 84 consecutive days without catching a single fish.
84 days. I mean, just think about that. That is so far beyond just a string of bad luck.
And the text gives it a specific name, a powerful name, Salau.
That word is so crucial. Salau isn't just bad luck. It's the worst form of bad luck. It implies he's cursed, that there's this spiritual stain on him.
It's so severe that the young boy, Manolin, who Santiago taught to fish and who loves him like a son, his family has forced him to move to a lucky boat.
So right away, Santiago is established as an outcast, a man carrying this visible stigma of failure.
And the physical description of him, it just reinforces this idea of time wearing him down. He's thin, he's gaunt, he has these deep wrinkles.
He has these harmless sun cancer spots on his cheeks, which is just the physical proof of decades spent under this unforgiving sun. And his hands. His hands are like maps of his past victories, just deeply scarred from handling heavy lines.
Physically, he is a ruin, a monument to a long, hard life. But then the text pivots immediately to the most important thing about him.
And the contrast is just magnificent. It says everything about him was old except his eyes. And his eyes were the color of the sea. They were cheerful. And critically, they were undefeated.
Undefeated. That one word is the entire engine of the story, isn't it?
It is. It signals that despite all the physical decay, the physical destruction, his spiritual core is completely intact, pristine.
And that spirit is sustained in large part by his relationship with Manolin.
Yes. The boy still comes back. Every single day. He defies his own parents. He defies the superstitions of the village to help the old man.
He brings him fresh bait. He buys him a beer at the tavern. These are small, practical things, but they're acts of devotion.
They're profound signs of loyalty and respect. It's about this intergenerational bond, this passing of a torch.
And they share these powerful memories. The text mentions Manolin's first fishing trip when he was 5. A big fish almost capsized their little boat.
And the boy still remembers the sound of the club hitting the fish and that sweet smell of blood. It's a shared introduction to the profound violence and dignity of their trade.
It's an education, really, not just in technique, but in reverence. Santiago taught him how to face reality without flinching.
Exactly. And that teaching is the legacy that has to survive whatever ordeal Santiago is about to face.
And their poverty. It's handled with such grace, this daily ritual where they pretend Santiago still has his fishing net or that he has food waiting for him at his hut, yellow rice and fish.
They maintain this shared, dignified fiction rather than submitting to the cold, hard truth of their destitution. It's a way of protecting each other.
And as they prepare for the journey, there's this mix of superstition and hope. Manolin gets the fresh bait, which is essential.
And Santiago himself, he's focused on the number 85. He's thinking about the lottery, hoping maybe he can turn his 85th unlucky day into some kind of financial win.
And before he leaves, we see his home, just a simple hut made of palm sheaths. It's sparse, which really emphasizes his solitude.
And the text mentions he's put away the pictures of his deceased wife
Why?
because it says they made him feel too lonely. So this tells us he has chosen a kind of stoic, functional solitude. He's channeling all of his focus outward to the sea and the task, not inward on his own emotional pain.
And the final image, the final symbol of his condition before he leaves is his mast and sail.
Yes. The sail is patched up with old flour sacks. It's rolled up, and the text describes it as looking like the flag of ultimate defeat.
But Santiago, he picks up this mast, the symbol of his constant failure, and he carries it up the street with this undeniable dignity.
He is literally shouldering the burden of his failure, but with an undefeated spirit. And that's the paradox he takes with him out into the Gulf Stream.
So, Santiago sets out. He's determined to break the cello, and he doesn't just stay close to shore, he rows far out.
Way out, past the shallow coastal waters, past where the younger fishermen with their motorboats are. He goes into the deep blue of the Gulf Stream, the Great Tank, where the water drops 700 fathoms.
But this isn't some desperate Hail Mary move. It's an act of faith in his own skill.
It is. The text details his meticulous setup. He has 4 lines, and he sets them at precise different depths. 40, 75, 100, and 125 fathoms.
And the bait has to be perfect. The fresh sardines have to be arranged just so around the hooks.
And this leads us to his guiding philosophy, which is really the total opposite of Salau. He says, I prefer to be exact. Then when luck comes, one is prepared.
He's minimizing the role of chance by maximizing his own preparation and skill. He's substituting craft for blind fortune.
Exactly. And that precision, it extends to his spiritual connection with the ocean itself. And this is a really crucial distinction Hemingway makes. The old man thinks of the sea as la mar,
The feminine sea, why is that so important?
because it completely dictates the relationship. Thinking of the sea as la mar means he sees her as this loving but sometimes cruel entity.
She gives or withholds favor. Maybe she's influenced by the moon, like a woman might be.
Right. It's a reciprocal, if complicated, relationship that's built on reverence, not domination.
And this is in stark contrast to the younger fishermen.
Totally. The ones with the motorboats and the technology.
Yeah.
They call the sea El Mar, the masculine sea. They treat it like a competitor or a resource to be exploited or just an enemy to be conquered.
Santiago is different. He's part of the ecosystem.
Yes, and his empathy extends to everything. To the delicate dark turns the sea swallows. He pities them because their lives seem even harder than his own. They're always searching and seldom finding.
He calls the flying fish his best friends on the ocean.
But even his compassion has its limits. He sees a Portuguese man-o'-war, this beautiful but deadly purple gelatinous thing, and he curses it. He calls it a whore for its treachery.
And for the agonizing pain its tentacles can cause.
But he takes pleasure in seeing the sea turtles eat them. The turtles are protected by their armor, they seem immune to the venom, and they become a very powerful symbol for Santiago.
There's a fascinating link there, isn't there? Santiago eats sea turtle eggs in May to build his strength for the big fish he hopes to catch in September.
He recognizes their endurance. And this is a deep insight into his personal code. He notes that a turtle's heart can beat for hours after it's been butchered.
And he thinks to himself, I have exactly such a heart.
Yes. His identity is tied to that kind of sheer, obstinate life force. It's about endurance and armor, not just brute strength.
So as the day goes on, he catches a small tuna, an albacore.
And he immediately uses it, not for food for himself, but as prime, fresh bait for something bigger.
And this is the moment he starts talking aloud to himself.
A habit he developed after Manolin left, just to fill the silence.
Yeah.
But for us, the reader, this monologue is vital. It externalizes his strategy, his philosophy. It lets us witness his discipline and his commitment to the code, moment by agonizing moment.
The stage is now set for this epic conflict. Santiago is far out, and the stick on his deepest line dips sharply. The marlin is 600 feet down.
And you can feel the scale of the fight immediately. But Santiago's handling of this moment is pure skill. He knows he can't pull too soon.
He actually talks to the fish, encourages it, eat them, fish, eat them, please, eat them.
He waits until he's absolutely certain the creature has swallowed the bait and the hook is fully set.
And when he finally sets that hook, pulling with all the strength of his arms and the weight of his turning body, the response isn't what you'd expect. It's not a struggle. It's a silent, terrifying, unstoppable pull.
The fish moves.
Yeah.
It begins towing his small boat steadily to the northwest. And Santiago instantly recognizes the sheer immensity of his opponent. What a fish, he thinks.
He realizes right away that this creature is physically stronger than he is, and the first real crack appears in his stoic solitude.
He says, I wish I had the boy here.
The ordeal has begun. The tow lasts all afternoon and then into the dark night. He loses sight of land, and he's relying on the faint glow of Havana's lights on the horizon just to keep his bearings.
And the physical toll is immediate and severe. That line is impossibly taut, and it's just digging into his back and shoulders.
But he's resourceful. As his sweat dries and he starts to get cold, he uses a bait sack as a cushion under the line. Just a small temporary relief from that grinding pain.
But the real battle, the internal one, begins when his own body betrays him. His left hand develops a severe cramp, the calamber.
And this is so profound because it's not an external enemy, it's a failure of his own flesh. He sees his hand curling into what he calls the clawed talons of an eagle.
It's a betrayal. He sees it as this deep humiliation that he has to conquer, not just endure. And his internal monologue shows this iron will. He forces himself to eat the raw tuna even with no appetite, just to get strength.
And he talks to the hand directly. I'll eat some more for you. He is forcing this body part back into partnership with his will.
Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like if you enjoyed this podcast.
And through all this, his relationship with the marlin begins to change, doesn't it?
It really does. He starts to pity the creature. He thinks he is wonderful and strange. And he remembers a time he caught a female marlin, and the male stayed alongside the boat, just mourning her loss. The saddest thing he'd ever seen.
So he goes from seeing the marlin as a prize, a thing to be caught, to seeing it as an equal, a worthy adversary.
They're chained together now by his own skill and trickery. He knows he has to kill the fish to survive, but he honors it completely as this noble creature.
Okay, so the second day dawns, he makes a strategic choice.
A tough one. He cuts his other fishing lines to prevent any chance of them snagging the main line. He's sacrificing valuable gear to protect the central struggle. In the process, he gets thrown down, gets a cut above his eye that bleeds, and dries on his face.
He just keeps working. And then this small, tired warbler lands on his line to rest.
And he feels this moment of compassion. He wishes he could sail the little get back to shore, but he can't. He says he is with a friend, the marlin. His commitment to the ordeal now overrides everything else.
And then the critical moment arrives. The fish leaps.
The sudden, immense pull, and the marlin just emerges from the water without end. It's massive, dark violet with lavender stripes, and it's 2 feet longer than the boat itself. A revelation of monumental size.
And Santiago sees this not as a threat, but as an opportunity. He hopes the jump filled the fish's air sacs, which would prevent it from diving deep to die, where he would surely lose it.
The fight is now forced to the surface. It transitions from a battle of strength to a test of psychological attrition. The fish begins to circle the boat.
Slowly, agonizingly, just trying to wear Santiago down. And it's working. The text says he's seeing black spots before his eyes from the sheer, unending strain.
So this is where he has to rally his mental reserves, and he draws on heroism, both external and internal. First, he thinks of the great baseball player, DiMaggio.
Right, who famously played through excruciating pain from a bone spur in his heel.
So he uses DiMaggio's endurance as a model for his own suffering. But then he conjures his own personal legend, the arm wrestling contest in Casablanca.
The one that lasted a full day and a full night, where he earned the title Santiago el Campeón, the champion.
It's the memory of his own innate, endless will, a deep reservoir of defiance that he taps into just when his body is about to fail him completely.
And on the third day, the fish finally circles close. He can see the 2 large suckerfish attached to its side.
He gathers every last reserve of strength he has, and he drives the harpoon just behind the large pectoral fin, aiming for the heart.
And the fish leaps one last spectacular, fatal time, then falls back into the sea.
The victory is achieved, and it's marked by this spreading cloud of blood in the water. The marlin is dead. Santiago has won.
So Santiago has won the battle. He secures the marlin alongside the boat. It's estimated at 18 feet long, over 1,500 pounds. I mean, it's far too massive to bring aboard.
The victory is monumental. But the price is immediate. That cloud of blood he saw, it's now a trail. It's an announcement to the entire ocean.
And the first attacker arrives very quickly, a large mako shark. Santiago immediately recognizes it as this magnificent, though cruel, specimen. He calls it dentuso.
And the fight is just brutal and desperate. He uses the harpoon, strikes the shark right in the brain. He manages to kill it, but as it dies, the mako rolls, tangles in the line, and tears free.
And it takes the harpoon and its line with it into the depths.
He's lost his primary weapon. And this is the turning point of regret. He looks at the huge wound the mako left in the marlin's flank and he says, I should not have gone so far out, fish.
He realizes his ambition, his quest to break the Salau, has ultimately made his prize vulnerable to forces he just can't control.
But that regret, it doesn't lead to surrender. Not for a second. He's now essentially unarmed, but the attacks don't stop. Two shovel-nosed sharks, the galanos, they arrive next.
So he improvises. He lashes his knife to a broken oar, creating this rudimentary spear.
And he fights with this desperate fury. He strikes the first shark until the knife blade shatters. Then he just uses the tiller, the wooden handle used to steer the boat.
The pinnace. He's literally fighting with the instrument of his own guidance.
Yes, he is fighting with purpose, driven solely by his commitment to the struggle, even when he knows he can't possibly win against all the scavengers.
He knows he's going to lose the fish.
Yeah.
He's fighting now purely for honor.
Against these forces of just consumption and destruction.
Yeah.
And as the sharks devour the last of his great fish, Santiago makes this final, unforgettable, defiant gesture.
He spits his own blood, which tastes like copper, into the ocean, and he dares them. He says, eat that, Galanos, and dream that you have killed a man.
It's a final act of psychological victory. And right here, this is the absolute core of Hemingway's philosophy. It's the code that binds all his heroes.
It's the most famous line from the book. A man can be destroyed, but not defeated.
Exactly. The marlin, his brother, his prize, it has been physically destroyed, reduced to a skeleton. But Santiago himself is not defeated.
The destruction is external, the loss of the catch. The victory is internal, the maintenance of his spirit, his dignity, right up until the very end.
So Santiago sails home, guided only by the city lights. And the boat moves lightly now. It's unburdened except for the massive spine, head, and tail of the marlin skeleton strapped to its side.
He is utterly spent. When he finally reaches the harbor, he ties up the boat and he just struggles up the street. The text says he collapses 5 times under the weight of the mast.
The same mast that was wrapped in the sail that looked like the flag of ultimate defeat.
And now it's not just a burden, is it? It's the physical representation of his ordeal. He's carrying the weight of his great destructive victory back to his simple hut.
And the morning after, Manilin, who is the embodiment of his legacy, he finds Santiago. He's asleep, face down on a newspaper-covered bed. His arms are stretched out, palms up.
And Manilin just weeps when he sees the old man's hands. They're shredded, scarred, the devastating physical cost of that internal triumph.
Meanwhile, the outside world, they finally recognize the sheer scale of what he accomplished. The other fishermen measure the skeleton, 18 feet long from mouth to tail.
The fish was real. It was immense. The old man did something extraordinary, all alone.
And Manilin, having seen the physical cost and the moral triumph, he publicly confirms his loyalty. He completely rejects the idea of Salau. He declares, to hell with luck.
The circle is complete.
It is. Manilin is now the keeper of Santiago's knowledge, his endurance, his code. The spirit survives the body's destruction. And they immediately start planning. They're going to get a new, durable spear blade made from an old Ford leaf spring. They will fish together again.
And the final haunting image of the book is Santiago sleeping, dreaming of lions on an African shore. This is a recurring dream for him.
And the lions, they seem to symbolize lost youth, primal, uncomplicated strength. A world of unspoiled nature that's so far removed from the scavenging reality of the sea.
It's a fascinating conclusion. Does the dream represent an escape? A return to a romantic past now that the suffering is over?
Or, and this is the other way to look at it, given that his spirit remained undefeated, does the dream represent the ultimate triumph? That his will, that turtle heart he admired, has returned to this primal state of invincible, undisputed power, completely disconnected from the world that destroyed his physical prize.
And the story ends with this powerful bit of irony. A tourist sees the massive skeleton and mistakes it for a giant shark.
Which just highlights how easily the profound reality of Santiago's struggle is misinterpreted by the outside world. Those who live by the sea, who understand the code, like Manilin, they see the champion. Everyone else just sees the wreckage. Hashtag outright dub. So, to summarize this deep dive, we have to return to that duality at the heart of the story. Santiago's struggle proves that the ultimate victory isn't about what you bring back to shore. It's about the dignity and the spirit you maintain during the fight.
Right. The loss of the marlin confirms his physical destruction, but his unbroken commitment confirms his spiritual victory, which is then witnessed and absorbed by Manilin. Okay, so here are your 3 key takeaways from our analysis of Ernest Hemingway's The Old Man and the Sea.
Number 1, dignity and defeat. Santiago proves that a man can be destroyed, I mean, the literal loss of the fish to the scavengers. But he can never be defeated as long as he maintains his spirit, his skill, and his commitment to honor.
Number 2, the code of conduct. The story really champions perseverance and precision, that whole idea of being exact rather than just relying on luck. And it reinforces this deep necessity of respect for the natural world, seeing the sea as Lamar and the great marlin as a brother fish.
And finally, number 3, the eternal bond. That crucial relationship between Santiago and Manolin provides the human element that ensures the old man's legacy survives the physical toll. Manolin absorbs Santiago's knowledge and his spirit, confirming that true victory is passed on through mentorship and loyalty.
Okay, so we'll leave you with a final provocative thought that connects this incredible fiction back to the author's tragic reality.
That prolonged, exhausting struggle against the great fish, followed by the relentless, inevitable attacks of the scavenging sharks. It so closely mirrors Ernest Hemingway's own long, private battle against his crippling depression and his own self-destructive impulses.
So the question is this. When Santiago finally returns, carrying the mast, that symbol of his burden, and then dreams of the lions, is this final escape into memory a surrender to the impossible realities of life?
Or is it the ultimate sign that his spirit, having survived the greatest possible physical destruction, has finally returned to a state of absolute, pure, and undisputed power? Something to consider the next time you face a battle that feels just too vast to win.